Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we had like a little technical difficulty, but
Yeah, okay.
we're going back on.
All right, it is
All right,
7.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 7:10. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to Behind the Culinary Curtain with Carlo, Wayan, who is our featured baker today. So I just want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Ria, pronoun she, her, hers. I am an OCA coordinator with the Arts and Culture Committee for OCA. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce, I also organized for the Filipino American community here in Houston, also co-president of UniPro Texas, and I'm going to go ahead and let the other staff members here introduce themselves.
Hi guys, my name is Trisha Morales. I'm also part of the Arts and Storytelling Committee for OCA Greater Houston, also organizer for Filipino community with UniPro. Super excited to bake with you all.
And hi, everyone. My name is Maria Duran, and I'm also with OCA on the programs and marketing side. And this is very exciting.
Awesome. So basically, this virtual baking session is part of OCA's Asian Restaurant Weeks. And so Asian Restaurant Weeks is a month-long program, and it's throughout the month of May in celebration of AAPI Heritage Month. So basically, originally Asian Restaurant Weeks is a month-long food dining experience featuring highlighting, Asian cuisine in Chinatown. Basically, we're trying to highlight this like local appetite here and the cultural heritage of Chinatown. But since COVID, we're shifting everything to the virtual realm and doing a storytelling session instead. So we have Carlo here, and we're really excited. Maria, can you tell us more about OCA?
Yeah. So OCA is a national organization, and we're dedicated to advancing the social, political, and economic well-being of Asian American and Pacific Islanders across the U.S. And the Houston chapter, we're a volunteer-driven organization, and we're advocating to meet the current and evolving needs of the community. So we focus on 5 program areas that includes advocacy and civic engagement, arts and culture, which this is a part of, education, community building, economic empowerment, youth empowerment, and leadership. And so some of our main campaigns that we have going on right now are census, because it's really important for the AAPI community to get counted. We want to make sure that everybody gets counted. It's such an important thing in the community, or well, actually for the nation. And we're always looking for volunteers. So we definitely encourage everyone to go to ocagreaterhouston.org. And I know we're going to post on the chat the link, if you want to volunteer for any of our events and our campaigns, because you could volunteer, let's say, for an event like this, to help us put it all together, or also in events like census outreach, by calling, either cold calling people, and reminding them about census, or even starting within your own network, which is the perfect place to start. So hopefully after we end, this really cool demo, all of you will make sure and remind your family members, everybody in your network, to fill out the census and make sure that they get counted. So I wanted to share a little video with you, and this is from our youth groups. talking a little bit about the census and the importance of it. So let me pull it up so you can see it.
My name is Jonathan Nguyen. I go to Bibingka High School and I'm going to be a senior. One thing that I've learned at YAS through this amazing experience is how important the census is in how it represents us, the community, and how we can be represented in government through our participation. And I believe that's one of the most important things that we could do as city members.
Not only is it the visibility of our community writ large, but really this is the primary and often only source of disaggregated data for our community. And that is so critical. I like to say that the reason why it's so important to have disaggregated detailed information is because you can always aggregate up. If you need to know what the Asian American population looks like, if you have the different communities and you have those numbers, you can find out what the Asian American community looks like. But if you need to know which different components of the Asian American communities are experiencing homelessness, experiencing maybe a lower educational attainment, if you only have that one aggregate number, you will never know how your community is actually fair and what needs to be done to make sure that everybody has equal access to their constitutional rights.
So I hope that this gives you a little bit of a taste of what OCA is doing, and also reminds you that census is really important because, for each census form that's filled out, you're looking at about $15,000 or more that are going back to your neighborhood to fix your street, to make sure that that the budget for the school is, schools are getting funded for healthcare, etc. And so, just a quick reminder for all of us to be advocates of our families, of ourselves, and of our community.
Thank you, Maria. Trish, can you talk about the Support Local Restaurants Life Fund for us, please?
So as Ria mentioned earlier, this is part of the Asian Restaurant Week's initiative programming for OCA. And originally this was supposed to be like a celebration of, going to local restaurants and celebrating our food and giving back to our community that way. But since COVID happened, we are actually working with Impact Hub and Next Seed to raise money for these local restaurants because they are really struggling right now. So this initiative is called the Life Fund, and Carlo is donating his time and his recipe to this, and this programming is free. So if you guys can, and if you do have the means, please donate. Let me share my screen real quick. So this is the initiative. It's the Life Fund campaign, and essentially what happens is you make a donation to OCA to this page. We purchase locally owned food from an Asian restaurant, and then we deliver those foods to pretty much the frontliners. So you're essentially feeding the frontliners, but also, keeping the lights on and the staff working with these restaurants. And yeah, so before we start, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the kitchen rules. So once Carlos starts speaking and I guess going over his recipe, please stay muted. If you do have a question, put it in the chat box, and Maria will be the one who will be reading these questions out loud to Carlos, so so he doesn't get interrupted. And later on, we are going to open it up to have an open discussion and a Q&A for him, and about more personal stories about Carlo and his story. But yeah, I think we're good to go.
Awesome, thank you. So without further ado, I would love to introduce my good friend, Carlo Wayan. I would love for him to talk more about himself, and go for it.
Hey everyone, my name is Carlo Wayan, and I'm so happy to see all of you. I'm a pastry cook at the Ritz-Carlton Dallas. I'm a pastry student at Collin College, and I'm one of the founding members of Not Your Lolas, which is a Filipino food pop-up concept here in Dallas. And actually, one of the other co-founders is Jed. If you see him, he's the other co-founder. So thank you for being here. I actually graduated from University of Texas at Dallas with a mechanical engineer major, or I'm blanking out. Okay, so yeah, so I graduated with that, and I worked in the industry for about 3 years. And at the end of those 3 years, I decided to jump into pastry. And at the beginning, I got a pastry internship at Facebook Menlo Park, California, and I did that for 4 months. And then I became a full-time pastry baker there. By November 2018, I decided that I wanted to go back to Texas and go to pastry school to just get more informed and be more accustomed to how to do recipes and all that stuff. Once I came back, once I started school, I got a pastry cook job at Haute Sweets Patisserie here in Dallas. So I was doing that at the same time, part-time baker, part-time student. Fast forward, that's when around April and May, that's when we created Not Your Lola's. Kept on doing that on the side while I was doing those 2 other things. Later in the year, I got the full-time job at the Ritz-Carlton in November, this past November, actually. So I've been working full-time there, doing part-time school, and it's just been insane. Unfortunately, with COVID, I got furloughed from the Ritz-Carlton, but a month later, I was luckily got the chance to get another position at Haute Sweets. Chef Tita, she told me that there was an opening, so I jumped on that position, and I've been working there ever since until I can go back to the Ritz. And yeah, that's pretty much about me. And are we ready to start? Good. All right. Before we start, be sure to wash your hands because that's super important now. Well, it's always been important, but it's super important even during these times. All right, after you wash your hands, let's see. Let's preheat our oven and spray our muffin tins before I go over the ingredients. So bake at 350. Depending on the size of your muffin tins, hopefully you have the larger ones. If not, it would be okay. It would just be a faster cooking time. And if you don't have muffin tins, it'll be a longer cooking time, but it'll be okay. Okay. Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So our ingredients today are 1 1/2 cup glutinous rice flour, 1/2 cup Michiko. I forgot to put this in the email, but if you do have it, get 1/2 teaspoon baking powder. If you don't have it, that's totally okay. It'll work out. Just a pinch of salt, 1/2 cup whole milk, 1 cup coconut milk, 3 eggs, 2 ounces of unsalted butter melted, shredded coconut. If you don't have shredded coconut or you have grated coconut, it'll work out. It'll be okay. And then shredded white cheddar cheese. Is there any questions about the ingredients? If everyone's good, then let's start.
Ooh, can I know more about what we're making? So what is it we were making again?
So we are making Royal Bibingka today. So I made this back in 2019 for Not Your Lawless Kamayan. And Kamayan means eating with your hands or using your hands. And it was just an event that we had that basically congregates everyone at this large table, banana leaves down, all the food's just in the middle, and everyone just eats with their hands and just talks, and just it's a very community based activity, and it was a great event. So I just wanted to do a throwback to that dessert that I did. So royal bibingka compared to regular bibingka is more, it has more glutinous rice flour instead of just regular rice flour. That gives it a chewier texture instead of a cakier texture.
Carlo, we do have a quick question from Leilani asking if they can use macapuno.
Yes, you can definitely use macapuno. If you are worried about the sugar content, it'll be okay. Just use less of it. And hold on. Am I forgetting something? Oh yeah, so 1/2 cup, also get 1/2 cup sugar as well.
And just for everyone watching, there is Carlo 2 camera on here. If you look through the tiles, and that's more of a close up of what's going on.
Just a humble
Yeah. Okay, so everyone ready to start? Okay. Okay, let's start putting the dry ingredients. Let's put in the 1 and 1/2 cup glutinous rice flour. Oops. 1/2 cup machiko. 1/2 teaspoon baking powder. And a pinch of salt. And then add in your sugar. So once all of those dry ingredients are in your bowl, take your whisk and just fully incorporate it together. Is everyone all right at that point? Good. Okay, in a separate bowl, put that aside. We'll take our 1/2 cup whole milk. One cup coconut milk. 3 eggs.
In a separate bowl.
Yes, in a separate bowl, you're putting all your liquids together. And then get your melted butter. So after all of that is in, take the same whisk that you used for the dries and just break up the egg yolks and start mixing it together until it's all uniform. Is everyone good at that point? And if you have any questions, please let me know.
What is the origin story of Bibingka? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, so the origin of the Royal Bibingka is actually from vegan Ilocos Sur, Philippines. As far as like how it was made, I don't know thoroughly because when I was researching, it was just telling me where it was from. It didn't tell me how it came about. I'm just assuming with the substitution of glutinous rice flour to regular rice flour, it's probably the fact that they had more glutinous rice flour, or they just wanted to use it instead of regular. Okay. All right, so if everyone's ready, we are going to put the liquids into the dries. What I like to do is stream it in, so there's less chance of it just clumping up, even though with these ingredients, it will work out in the end once you whisk it enough. So as you're pouring it in, whisk. If you aren't comfortable with doing that, just pour it all in and then start whisking everything together. Be sure to get your spatula and scrape all the liquids out of the first bowl.
Can you use an electric mixer?
Yes, you can. I'm just using the whisk and just bowls, like regular bowls today, because not everyone has an electric whisker and mixer, and it's easy enough to just do it by hand. But if you do have one, go for it.
I'm gonna tap you if there's a
Thanks, Matthew. All right. At this point, your batter should be a good consistency, no lumps. Is everyone good at this point? Any questions? If you still have a lot of lumps, just keep on mixing. Eventually, they would just break apart and they'll become all uniform.
Can you unmute for a sec? So there's something in the chat. Oh, it was. Says, can you unmute it for a sec so I could get that camera of the phone?
Oh yeah. So anytime somebody talks, it like goes to that person. So if you can just unmute the phone for a second so I can get a shot of the bowl. Okay, awesome.
You, not me.
Okay. Is everyone all right at this point? Okay, cool. So before we start putting it into the muffin tins, let's clean up, because it's important to just have a clean space when you're doing all this stuff in the kitchen. Okay. So at this point, if you have a ladle, a pitcher, ice cream scoop. Oh, okay. Let me try that. Does this work? Okay. Okay, so at this point, get your batter. Let's put this aside. When you're filling your tins, try to just do maybe 2/3 of the way up, because we're going to be adding the shredded coconut.
Oh, I think I just exposed you.
Hmm?
I accidentally got your Birks and socks in the background.
That's okay. It's going to be a bit messy, but you know what? It's okay. With home cooking, it's always messy anyways.
Is it okay to use muffin liners?
Yeah, go for it. Also, if you want, you could just pour it from the bowl. Okay. So get your shredded coconut and just put a few strands in each one. And the shredded coconut I got are from the frozen section. It's usually in the Filipino section, so it's beside the grated stuff.
Someone asked a question. Is this syrup industry?
Yeah, it should be fine. Do your best to not to put so much inside. Is everyone okay at this point?
Everyone's being so precise.
It's all good because how these bake, they just get puffed up and then they kind of just do their own thing. They're not going to look very neat. So if they're not exactly the same level, it's totally fine. Just as long as they're close to it. So they all bake evenly. Okay, if everyone's ready, we're gonna put this into the oven. So again, we are baking at 350, and for the first, we are baking it for 15 minutes.
That's cool.
All right, and then be sure to clean up while it's in the oven right now.
Wait, what did it say?
Yeah.
Big ups to Carlos.
Awesome. While everyone's cleaning up, and we have 15 minutes, I'm just gonna do a short like Q&A break. Carlo, you good? Cameraman, you good?
Yes.
Awesome. So I know that you told us a little bit like about, you know, what Royal Bibingka is, and you know, it was kind of like a throwback to Kamayan. But like, why else did you choose this like recipe?
Am I still pinned on Carlo too?
You're good. Your
Okay, cool.
laptop view now. Thank you.
Okay. Can you repeat that question, please?
Sure. No. Why did you choose this recipe?
Oh, I chose this recipe because as far as like taste goes, it's just the chewy texture and the butteriness and the coconut flavor just tastes really well together with the saltiness of the white cherry cheese. And like I said, it was a throwback to the Kamayan event. And I miss those days where we didn't have to stay at home. So I was just like feeling nostalgic, and I wanted to do that recipe. And it was something easy enough to do through virtual baking. And there's only a few ingredients. It's not too hard to find, I hope. And then it's just something I feel like everyone would enjoy, and it's something easy enough to repeat in the future.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this another one. Like, is it your favorite?
My favorite Filipino dessert, it wouldn't, because I love ice cream, and it's generally gonna be like ubi ice cream or something cold with a crunchy texture to it. But it's still a really good dessert, especially with this one. I added ubi ice cream at the end at the Kamayan dinner. Yeah, it's just a very easy recipe to do, and I just recommend doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question. So
Yes.
earlier in your bio, you mentioned that you're a student right now. What made you choose pastry?
I chose pastry because, okay, so when you go to culinary school or pastry school, or just, yeah, culinary school in general, you're gonna have either culinary or pastry. And personally, I don't think I have the personality to be in the culinary side. I'm a little more chilled, I feel like, and I'm not as aggressive as people in the culinary side. But also, I just love desserts where it's always at the end of the meal, or it's something that you reward yourself. So as far as like, let's say a full course dinner, as a pastry chef, you kind of have the last say at the very end, and you have that power to just create something really great through just your passion and your love for it, that once that person leaves that restaurant or that banquet or that event, it's just something that they will remember for forever, you know? And that's just something that's really important to me. It's like that final note. So that's why I chose pastry.
We do have like 10 minutes left in our bake. Does anyone else have like questions you want to ask Carlo right now? Go ahead and post it on the chat.
That is actually a goal of mine. When I first started, when I got into pastry, like my main goal, like at the end of the day, or like even further down the line, I just want to have my own Filipino bakery. That's just where I saw myself going at the end of this career. I do see myself like going through other bakeries, restaurants, hotels before I get to that point, but I just want to build a name for myself or build up my recipes before I establish my own bakery. How did I feel when I made that career switch? Oh, it was scary. It was very unknown to me. I had zero experience. Going into that internship and moving to another state for it was just daunting. Sorry, my mom's just being OA right now.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What is OA?
OA is like overacting, just being dramatic right now. She's like eating some stuff that I made the other day and just distracting me. Yeah, it was scary because I didn't really know if it was for me, even though that's what I was really passionate about. I wasn't sure how far I would get into it. But after going through that internship and baking and then coming back and then starting school, it just felt more comfortable. Like I knew what I was doing already, and I felt more confident in myself in the kitchen. And that's where I'm at right now. It's just really hard at the moment because of COVID. It's hard to stay super positive when there's so much unknown, and it's hitting everyone really hard in the industry. And I hope that answers your question. How does the Filipinx community in Dallas look like? Honestly, my experience with the Dallas Filipino community just extends to FSA and Unipro Texas. We did have a event last year called Handaan, and that was in a collaboration with Unipro Texas and FSA UT Dallas. As far as I know, how I see it, there's church communities that kind of stick together, and then there's other clusters of Filipino communities like all spread out in Dallas. And personally, I haven't really seen anything like Houston's community where we actually have like funds or anything like that. So it's not as close, but I think we are definitely working our way towards that point. Are you in Dallas or just went to school? I live in Dallas right now, but I'm not originally from here. I moved to Texas, or I moved to Dallas in 2006 from Massachusetts. And then before that, I was in the Philippines. So yeah, there are a lot of Filipinos. It's just like everyone's spread out, and I don't really see a lot of gatherings as much as other places.
When you answer the question, can you reiterate the question out loud?
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm new to this. Okay. So that was the question that I just answered was from Bev Johnson. Are you in Dallas or just went to school there? And then we live Dallas. We live near Dallas, and many Philippines here in DFW. Next question is from Jed. Chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin? Definitely chocolate chip. I don't know. I love chocolate chip cookies. Definitely like the big chewy ones. I've yet to try Levain Bakery in New York, but that type of cookie is like the best. Question from Josh Garcia. What do you consider as your greatest culinary achievement so far? so at the Ritz, there was this dinner called five-star dinner, which is for the employees, and you get like all the employees kind of like nominate people to go into that dinner just to highlight their success and their just work ethic. And my pastry chefs at the hotel, they assigned me to that dinner to create something for it. And I was only in the Ritz for maybe 2 months at this point. So it was just really, or actually, was it 2 months? Maybe even less than a month. I don't know. But they asked me to create a dessert for that. And it was this chocolate mousse stone with a yuzu curd center and a brownie layer. And then it had some other components. I could show the picture later, but for me, that was like my greatest achievement because I had to create something on my own with all the components and then create every single plate for about 50, 60 people. So for me right now, that's my greatest achievement. Well, that was from Josh. Next question from Bev Johnson. Will you show pick a final product after baking? Yes, I will. At the end, hopefully we have time. I plan plating it. I made some the other day, so I'm gonna plate how I kind of envisioned it. Since I've been out of the Ritz, I've been like itching to plate something. So we will definitely see that at the end.
I think we have room for one more question before we check on our.
Okay. Next question is from Josh Garcia. What is your opinion on fusion food / desserts? I don't know. They're great. It's just there's a line that you can't be like, yeah, this is a kind of a loaded part where everyone has their opinions on it, but you can't like say this is traditionally this food. Just as long as you're upfront on what fusion it is, and if it tastes good, then it's great. Like there's this food truck in San Francisco called Senior Sisig, and it's a combination of Filipino food and Mexican food, and bomb food. Like if you are ever in the San Francisco area, definitely get Senior Sisig. Their sisig fries, their burritos with it when you slog it, when you have egg in it, is like one of the most delicious things that I had when I was over there. Do I have time for one more? Yeah, I have 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Next question is from Stan. What other countries' pastries would you like to master? See, a lot of pastry really stems from France. So it's like, probably anything other like in the European area because they do a lot of chocolate work up there. And there's this guy named Amari Goshan. My pronunciation is really bad, but he does amazing stuff. If I could learn from him, he has insane desserts. Like if you look up AMAURY, it should just pull up on Instagram. His stuff is just amazing. 1 minute, 30 seconds. I can do another one. Okay. From Kevin, if you could redo your whole career, what would you do differently? Ooh, honestly, it's hard for me to say I would redo it because I kind of got to this point and learned what I did. And I'm like thankful for that journey to get to this point. Yes, it would have been nice to like figure this out earlier, but I don't think it was a waste of time. I met the people that I need to meet. I made the connections. I made the friendships that got me to this point. I just hope that it continues like that and just pushes me further into my career. And I believe it will take me far. So I don't really think I would redo my career. 30 seconds. Sybil, do you have a YouTube baking channel? No, I do not. I don't have the capabilities of recording or have video stuff like that. And honestly, I think I'm too lazy for it. Like, I can't even make TikToks for baking. So I just post on Instagram and do whatever. Like, I don't think I have the ability, or I don't have the patience to do the video editing. Okay, hold on. I'll answer more questions. It's time to take them out in 3, 2, 1.
Grab your mitts, everyone. Just remember, be safe.
How do you know when it's ready? Is it like a certain color?
Hold on. I'm trying to figure out the mic situation.
Says I can't start the video because the host has disabled it.
Oh, right now it's okay. Like, it's not fully cooked yet. So you're not really looking for anything in particular, because at this point you're just putting on the cheese.
The question is, how much cheese do we
As much as you want, but like, I just do like a pinch.
Okay.
Sure. And additionally, I feel like this is a recipe that's good to do with your kids, or just anyone who is pretty introductory into baking or Filipino desserts.
What brand of cheese do you use?
This is Tillamook. I don't know. I like that brand, but I'm not like a cheese connoisseur where I'm like really picky about this stuff. Other recipes I've seen, they've used sharp cheddar cheese, the more orange one. That's totally fine too. I just prefer white cheddar cheese. Okay, once you put all the cheese on your bibingka, put it back in. Then set your timer for another 10 minutes. Ten minutes. Okay, Stan asked, hey, I put in oven late. What's the overall time? If you're in a muffin tin like mine, the overall time from start to finish is about 25 to 30 minutes. So how I broke it down, it's 15 minutes initial cook or initial bake, cheese, and then another 10 minutes. Then the last 5 to 10 minutes would be broiling at the same temperature.
I believe Matt is asking 10 or 15. For which part, Matt?
Oh, oops.
Oh, the cheese part. I got confused with the question that Stan was asking.
John, broiling is when the heat element is just coming from the top. So it's just gonna, at that point, when we get to that point, it's just gonna brown the top of the bibingka more and get a little crispier.
Wait, so did you switch your bake to broil?
No, not right. No, someone was just asking me about broiling.
Okay, sorry.
We're still baking for another 10 minutes. Well, right now it's 8. I'm kind of going back and looking at the other questions that I missed. This from Bev Johnson. The restaurant that I work at, I mean, it's Fearing's restaurant and the Ritz Carlton. Sometimes I work banquet side, which is the hotel side, and then some nights I work at the restaurant. So it depends. So, I mean, if you want to check it out, it's a great experience. Definitely would love to see you there. Next question.
Josh, what is the biggest difference between baking in an industry level kitchen versus your own house?
Well, wait, Island asked a question first. Does your mom bake a lot too? She does when she wants to. I mean, it's not often, but she likes baking. That's from Island. And then for Josh, what is the okay? So industry level kitchen, you could do a lot more and definitely get a lot more done. Because you have multiple ovens, you have speed racks, which are these like metal things that you could put full sheet pans in. So you could do a lot more production and get a lot more things done as compared to a house kitchen where you kind of just have one. And depending on your oven, it could be either temperamental or really good to you. It really depends. For me, I only like using the middle shelf of the oven because that's where it's going to bake the most even. It's not going to, if I put any higher or any lower, the bottom might get burnt or the top might get burnt. And then the dishes, I hate dishes, and baking at home, there's just so much. I feel like there's just so much to clean when you're baking at home. But yeah, that's the biggest differences for me. Okay, from Unipro, Texas, what has been your most challenging event or experience in the industry so far? The most challenging was my internship at Facebook. Since the cafes there are mass production, just like all the other places, but it's even more so because you're trying to supply so much food for the employees there. And for me to go from zero experience to keeping up with those numbers was really hard. I had a pretty strict supervisor during that time, and it was like the expectation to be perfect each time. And it was hard I pushed myself, but it was hard trying to not be hard on myself when I'm so new to it. But like, I wanted to get things right, as you should in any of your jobs. But it was just getting over the fact that it's like, oh, I'm still learning, I'm still new to baking, but I'm trying to achieve like her level of like perfection just to get things right. So that was the transition was definitely the most challenging part right now. And then right after that, it's like the decision to come back to Texas. And that was actually, I was torn about it because I felt like I wasn't giving myself enough chance at Facebook, but it was, I think, the best choice I made. Because if I didn't move back at that time, I wouldn't have started school. I wouldn't have gone to Hot Suites. I wouldn't have started up I wouldn't have joined like Jed Pagella and Daniel Girona and Randall Broad to start Not Your Lolas during that time. So I'm just really glad that I made that decision during that time. We have 340. Okay.
What's your favorite ingredient to bake with or work with?
Favorite ingredient to bake or work with? I guess flour. I mean, lately, this past semester, I got into my breads class, and baking bread is just like really satisfying because at the beginning you're kind of like not sure if this is going to turn out right, and then after proofing, and then even after proofing, you're like, hopefully it's not overproofed or underproofed. So once bread gets out of the oven, it's very satisfying for me. So during the start of the quarantine, I actually was working on my pandesal recipe, and after a few tries, I got to the way I wanted, and my parents really liked it. So it was just a good victory for me during that time when I was feeling like really low. Pandesal is a Filipino bread roll. Oh, this was asked by Ria. It's a Filipino bread roll, even though it translates bread of salt or salt of bread or whatever. It's more of a sweet bread or sweeter bread. So it has a little more sugar than other dinner rolls, I believe. Okay, John asked, what's the most complex thing you've baked? Okay, so I feel like the baking process isn't the complex part. It's like putting the things together. The more complex ones are definitely the desserts that have multiple layers to them. There's one dessert in Haute Sweets where it's a layer of almond jaconde, coffee, buttercream, I think a mousse layer, and then another glaze layer on top. Like all those components take so much time, and then when you do it in large batches, it's just like a big project. So I feel like that's one of the more complex ones, but so I feel like that's for the bakery side. As far as like plating, the most complex one, it's hard to say because as a team in the Ritz, everyone has their own responsibilities, and someone does this component, someone does another component, and then we work together as a whole to build it. And then when we have that dessert, when you list them off, it's like pretty complex, but when you split up that work, it's not that bad. It's pretty straightforward. Oh yeah, cocoa jam. Actually, I made some the other day. I made it with, if you want to write this down, it's 2 cups coconut cream and 1 cup dark brown sugar. Then you put that together, and then you just put it on medium heat, heat it up, dissolve it. Oh, okay. Timer went off. Take out your Bibingka. So this is what it looks like right now. Obviously, it looks pretty cooked, but the top's not. To broil and press start. If you really want to, like, if you want to speed up the process, just bump up the temperature to 375.
Do you have an iconic catchphrase you use?
No. I mean, I have my mannerisms, but I don't have a catchphrase.
That's somebody else. That wasn't my idea.
Ask that. Oh, Josh.
He wouldn't. Okay, so
Almost forgot the timer. Do that for 5 minutes for now, and then we'll check how it looks. Oops.
Door. Is this open?
Okay.
I mean, do you have any
This is what my catchphrase would be. Oh. Was I muted? No.
I can hear you now.
Any questions? Give me 10 minutes. Okay.
Cake, cookies, or bread. One side to go.
Cake.
Yeah, I was about to say cake.
I'm not the biggest cake person, even though like sometimes it's enjoyable to make. But if I really had to, I would get rid of cake.
There's like a 3 second.
Favorite kitchen tools.
There's so.
That was asked by Jed. Favorite kitchen tools. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the stuff I have in my toolbox. Okay, the scale for sure. I mean, that helps a lot. Oh yeah. So in professional baking or pastry, everything is in metric units or at least ounces, or it's by weight. That keeps everything more consistent when you have to do things over and over again. There's rarely any times that you will go to a professional kitchen and you'll be using cups or tablespoons or teaspoons, because everyone scoops differently or things get packed differently, and it just makes it more inconsistent. So the scale is probably my favorite kitchen tool, aside from maybe my piping tips, because those help out a lot. Piping tips. It's for like cake stuff. Okay. Nikki, yeah, I know cake pops though. That's in my past life. Okay, Matt asked, thoughts about Bruce and the movie Matilda. He's a champ. Like, I'm glad that he was able to eat that cake. To be honest, that cake looked really good. I definitely want a slice of that one. Even though I don't really like cake, but my favorite one is definitely the berry chantilly cake from Whole Foods. That cake is delicious. I love that cake.
Last
That I actually need
question,
to recreate for myself.
What is your creative inspiration, or what does your creative process look like?
My creative process? Hold on. I'll answer that.
It's okay. Go ahead.
It's almost there. It's like 1 minute.
Okay.
That's
a very complex
seems
question.
like it could take a while.
It's okay.
I'll have to think about it for a bit. My creative process. I hope everyone is doing all right. This is my first virtual baking class. Like this whole day, I've been like nervous about this, even though like in my head, it's like, don't be nervous, Carlo. It'll be okay.
So would you do this again?
I definitely would. I know where I could like improve and be more prepared, and this whole 2-camera thing is like really cool. So it'd be awesome to do it, and it's fun. Oh, thanks, Island. Oh, thanks, Angelica.
So there's also a comment on Facebook from Henry Tai saying, "Let's go, Carlo."
Henry. Yeah, he's one of my really good friends from college. Went through a lot of stuff. Okay, so the timer is off. Matthew. Okay, my cameraman left me. He's playing piano. Oops. Okay. At this point, it looks a little browner. I feel like I could give it maybe 2 more minutes. I definitely want the cheese a little browner than that. But if you guys like how it looks already, you can take it out. If you're happy, because it's already baked at this point. I'm just trying to get the cheese more brown and just crispy. Oh, yeah, one thing with baking that sometimes, more specifically to bread, there's just like a lot of downtime. So there's like moments like this, you're just like chilling. Oh, really? I haven't had it yet.
It's okay. I mean, it's not like very ube flavor. You know, it's kind of down a little bit. It's
Yeah.
kind of disappointing.
I have a feeling they probably use like actual ube, not just ube extract, because with just taking from real ube, sometimes you can't get that much flavor out of it. So that's where I'm assuming why it's not that strong ube flavor that we're all used to, where it's like a deep purple. Because when you use actual ube, it turns more lavender or grayish, and then it's not as pronounced. Okay. Okay, looks good enough. Turn off your oven. There's a few times I actually left that on by accident. So let it cool. At this point, I'm gonna take one that I baked the other day and I'm gonna plate for you.
What brand of rice flour do you use?
The green one. I don't know what it's called.
Hey Carlo, can you check the screenshot I just sent you? Does this look right?
Okay, hold on. Sent me. Okay.
Is this the rice flour?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fine to me. Good job.
It doesn't look
Okay,
as full as
so,
This label will be read properly.
So that's the brand I use. So you're saying it's not as puffed up?
Yeah.
How far did you fill it?
Someone said theirs kind of sunk.
Yeah. But it's good because with this, like, if you look up Royal Bibingka, a lot of their stuff looks pretty like condensed, and that just means it's gonna be chewy. I mean, it's okay. Like that's what it is. It's a chewy. All right, or is everyone having the same problem that it's kind of stuck? Trish, did it work that way?
Do you think Malik can fight?
So what I'm going to do today as far as plating goes, I made a creme and glaze sauce right here. So that has some pandan extract inside or in it as well. And then I just have toasted coconut chips. So with this, I'm just gonna, oh, before I start, this plate, I actually went to one of my good friends, Marcelo Ortega. He's an artist here in Dallas that does custom ceramics, and he actually supplies plates to some of the restaurants here in Dallas, as well as one of the other bars in Deep Ellum. And I was able to stop by his place the other day and get some plates that he was trying to get off his hands. And he has some great work. Definitely look out for him. He's going to be a big thing in the future. I'll send his Instagram chat in a bit. So with the creme and glaze sauce, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna get the Bibingka that I got or I made the other day. And put it in that place right there. So after that,
I wonder if I hit that. I don't think I know.
it's kind of stuck. Oh, that's not good.
Is that just me here using my canola oil? It's fine.
So I made this ubi ice cream earlier this morning. And
You made
it's been in the freezer for a while now.
That's a beautiful color.
Okay. So put a canal of ubi ice cream right there. Get your coconut chips. Just kind of be free with it. Then also a garnish that I made earlier today. I was just playing with this technique that I saw on Instagram. It was really cool. So it's just flour, water, oil, and then I just put some green food coloring. So with this, I'll just lay it like that.
Your co-host asked something I think we do.
I guess it would be considered a tuile.
Cutie person. Okay, sure.
From something that I was told, and it just makes sense to me, if you do things in odd numbers, it just looks a little better. And I've just been doing that ever since. So yeah, I feel like that's good enough. And there you go. If I would get anything more additional, I would probably make a crumble or maybe add
That is beautiful.
Wow, that looks amazing. How does everyone else's look and taste? Mine's a little I see some people are already like digging in on it. I see like,
Oh, get
yeah.
on the main screen, please unmute yourself and share your. Oh, okay. So here's what I made, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Definitely an experience doing a virtual baking class.
They missed the entire part about how you made this.
Oh, I was muted during that time? Oh, okay. So apparently I was muted when I was explaining the tuile. So it's just flour, water, oil, and then I added some green food coloring. And then on the pan, I put it onto medium heat, and just from a squirt bottle, I just like place some there, and then it just cooks by itself, and then becomes this kind of texture and shape. It's really cool. Definitely super easy. Just a simple thing that you can do to step up your plating.
Awesome. Thank you. Just real quick, everyone. I know we're digging in and we're kind of taking everything out. But can we just have everyone at their camera to kind of like take a group picture real quick? Is that all right, Maria?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So
Okay. We're gonna take a picture. Are we taking a picture with what we made?
Sure, we can.
Oh, okay. I think that's.
okay, so just stay like that for a couple seconds.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome. Cool. So right now it's 8:30, and I want to say like really big thank you to like Carlo and your sous chef, your cameraman. Big shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Matthew.
Wait, what did
you.
you?
He's saying thank you.
Oh, no problem.
I kind of want to open up. I mean, right now we have a Q&A like kind of scheduled. I know we have like 3 minutes left, but I kind of want to ask you this question before we all leave. So my curious question is like, how does community, this is a complex one, so get ready. How does your community and identity tie into your pastry journey?
Good question.
Thanks.
Sorry, my mom's coming into the kitchen again. Okay, so even before I started pastry, I was involved at the Philippine Student Association at UT Dallas, and then after that, I became a part of Unipro Texas. So community work has always been like in my background or just like within me that I just wanted to do. Wanted to get like just the Filipino-ness out there and just be more expressive about it. And then once I found out that I wanted to do pastry, but I also want to continue my community work, I needed to focus on a goal that would be able to bind those two together. So that's where it came about, where I wanted my own Filipino bakery. But to get to that point, I have to go through a lot more. So one thing I have to remember each time that like I'm going into the kitchen or going into something that I want to do food related, it's just like, how can I use this experience in order to get to that goal of being able to tie in my culture and be able to bring it back to the community. So that's kind of how I see it. And also, like, once I get to that point of becoming like a pastry chef, I just want to be able to prove a point that Once like it's okay to pursue something that you're passionate about, even though it might not be something traditionally encouraged. But if you just put in the time and work into it, and then make sure that like you're doing the necessary steps to get to that goal, it'll work out. It doesn't matter if it's right after high school or later down the line. Everyone has their own timing and come in terms of like trying to do what they want. But I want to make that a point to like Filipino youth, that it's okay. Things work out. It might not, it'll be rough, but things work out. That's kind of just what I want to tie into my identity, my community, while I go through this pastry journey.
Thank you, Carlo. I appreciate your answer, and that's really inspiring. Trish, do you have like a question for Carlo?
I mean, it's 8:30, so
Okay.
I'm gonna open it up to for I mean, Carlo,
Sure.
you did both though, right? You started with mechanical engineering, then you transitioned. So it's kind of like
Yes.
both worlds that you were able to like step into. Yeah, so
Mhm.
yeah, I want to open up to the to anyone else. Like unmute yourself and go ahead and talk. And let's have questions for Carlo.
What are some of the similarities that you found within like baking and mechanical engineering?
Some of the similarities that I found was attention to detail. Both apply, just stuff that you need to pay attention to when you're working, where like you can't misscale something. You can't, and then for engineering, you can't like mismeasure something, or it's just going to be completely off. Oh, thanks, Kevin. That's one thing I saw is just you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Have the correct numbers, do your math right, or else the end product is just going to be catastrophic or just go wrong. Then again, like with baking, it's not as critical, or it's not as like something it would like negatively affect someone, because if you mess up a recipe, you just have to do it over. Like you're just wasting your time and money, but at least you're not risking someone else's life. But also with the risking life stuff, as a food, like if you're in the food industry, you have to keep up with just being your food safety stuff and make sure no one gets hurt that way. So that's a whole nother deal, but it's just attention to detail and work ethic would be the similarities. Oh, you're welcome, Stan.
What's your inspiration?
What's my inspiration? At the beginning, there wasn't anyone that like influenced me to do pastry, but to go into food, it definitely was my mom, and definitely was my Lola on my dad's side. Both of them have like really ingrained memories of in my mind that I relate to them to food and just like how it made me feel. So that's what inspired me to go into food. Other than that, like it came after that, it's like just seeing how people congregate around food and how communities try to like make things together, and it's a good bonding experience when it is always food related, you know. People exchange ideas, they exchange opinions, people grow from just being around food.
On that note, you guys, it's 8:34, and again, thank you so much, Carlo, for baking this or helping us bake this royal bibingka. But yeah, I mean, at this time, I really love that we're all here literally baking royal bibingka around community. And I feel like this is a form of self-care and also just, you know, being with each other at this time. Maria, do you have anything else to say? Maria?
I'm just looking forward to the next one.
For sure. I mean, Carlo, your story is super important. I know that, you know, you made everyone, at least everyone in this call, like try something new. And like we all experience this together, and that's really awesome. Like, and this is just like a platform that to tell our stories, right? And I think that during this time, it's super important to do that. And thank you for, you know, being visible in your space and in this space. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and hand it to Maria. I think you have something else to share with us.
Well, no, I mean, definitely thank you. Thank you, Carlo. Thank you to everyone. And, you know, as we mentioned before, OCA, you know, we continue our work of advocating for the community and providing civic engagement opportunities through arts and culture in like this type of forum. And so, so we're just really excited to be able to share this moment with all of you. So we want to leave you. Actually, Carlo, I don't know if you have any last words before we close off with a video.
I just wanted to say thank you for going through this class with me. It was my first time, and it was just really interesting on how to run a virtual baking show. And it's a lot of camera work and trying to just get things like kind of more organized. So it's like a good learning experience, and I'm happy that you guys experienced that with me. So thank you for attending.
Yay, and we're all ready for the next one. So thank you everyone for joining us. And we have other programming coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we want to leave you with a quick video from our upcoming, or actually a look back at Happy Fest 2019's opening night. And just to give you a taste of, you know, of what we do. And then also hopefully you'll join us for the film fest. We will be having an announcement about it soon. Actually tomorrow, big announcement about it. So hope you join us.
My name is Jessica Tong, and it is an honor as the Director of Happy Fest to welcome you to the 15th Annual Happy Fest.
My name is Todd Long, and I'm the Director of Performing Arts and Culture at Asia Society Texas Center. And we're thrilled to host the opening night of Happy Film Fest. We've been doing this for the last few years. The mission of Asia Society is to build cultural bridges of understanding between Asia and the West. And Happy Film Festival is definitely one great way for us to accomplish that mission.
We hope that not only do you find this year's programming entertaining, but come away from it feeling energized and understanding of our collective strength as a community.
So please give him a big applause.
I think a big deal was after I went back to Taiwan, after being just completely, you know, kind of immersed in Western art, history, and then going back to Taiwan and then kind of opening my eyes to, you know, all of kind of Eastern culture. I think that really changed the way I looked at, you know, any story or people or the world, because I really was missing kind of half of the world.